This is Nikki Bell. Let's go. So, how are you today? It's a wonderful, beautiful day. I'm here again, your girl, Nikki, the strategist. So, I'm going to continue from where we left off, where I did like part one of, I don't know how many parts there'll be, of tips for, when you're investing, or, as a business owner, what you should be doing, some things that you need to be keeping in mind, so on and so forth. And so this I came out with, I had a conference to present at, and I had to come up with all this information. And I just found it really unique. I was like, yes, you have to be doing this. So I left off where, the legal paperwork needed to be properly prepared. And so the next point was undocumented shareholder loans or other financings. So what that means is you have, as a founder or a startup, you have people who have invested in you or invested in your company, and then you have promised them shares. You have promised them stocks. You're like, oh yeah, when I, get to going, I'm going to, give you 1%. How about 10%? How about 3%? How about 15%? How about, 8%? And you're just like saying all these things, and you're verbally promising people, nothing's documented, no one signed any contracts or anything. Do you know that you still legally owe these folks? This is like the number one problem in the industry, okay? And again, it's not just startups. You could be starting out your business. You could, look into commercial buildings, and you're like, this is where I want to be. It's got, a good traffic area, meaning the ingress and egress is, simple. We're going to get, we're in a great area. I've got, certain things down, the zoning. I've talked to the zoning people. I've talked to, the inspectors, the building people, so on and so forth. And what happens is, like I said, this could be for anyone, where you have promised equity. It's called equity in your company. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. If someone wants to give you a loan, it needs to be documented. There needs to be a contract, right? There needs to be documentation from the bank, from each other's institutions, whatever. But do not verbally just promise your company away. Do not verbally promise your company away. Okay? I'm going to repeat it. Do not verbally promise your company away. Number one. Number two, if you are going to do any kind of financing transaction, it needs to be documented. Okay? You need to have the proper documentation for these things. And then the other point that I had was there's a lack of understanding of government regulation of the company's industry. So depending on what industry you're in, I'm not going to give you the answer. Depending on what industry you're in, you need to know the do's and don'ts of that industry. Okay? And everything is run. Whether you're in the United States or around the world, everything is run. There's always something that you have to answer to when it comes to your business or your investments. Meaning, everything's run, or you have to answer to the government. So for investors, depending on how much you invest, you have to report that to the government, whether it's your taxes or whether it's the Security Exchange Commission. You have to report these things, okay, to the government, right? And if it's through your taxes or whatever, let's say you made $1 million or something. Well, you've got to report it. Okay, it's either going to be, through the IRS or what have you. And it's really, really important that you are government regulated on some form, right? Yes, in the private industry, there are some shortcuts that people can take. There's strategy for that, right? Our 1%ers, things of that sort, whether it comes to taxes or whether it comes to reporting to the SEC. I'm just being straight with you. There's certain shortcuts that can be taken. But for the most part, even if you are 1%er, you have to do some sort of reporting, right? For your taxes, or to the Security Exchange Commission, or FINRA to oversee some of these private companies and private investors, all right? If you really want to know if someone's legit, like a broker, which I don't do, And a broker gets paid a percent. Sometimes they have an upfront fee, and they will find you, monies, right? There's a lot of people who have had, bad interactions with that. And then some are good. But if you really want to look them up, they're on FINRA. They're listed. Oh, yeah. Thousands and thousands and thousands are listed. So, again, folks, I'm a researcher. This information is always going to be free. So take it with a grain of salt, what I'm saying to you, and heed my words, okay? So the last thing I'm going to bring up is when there's no shareholders agreement or it's unsigned. So when you've got, investors who are investing in you, maybe one or two, and, I don't know, they give you money. Could be a friend of the family, it could be someone in your circle, it could be somebody that you know, but it's not, there's no signature, there's no documentation of that. It's really not good, you guys. So again, pay attention to what I'm saying. It's very, very important. I am Nikki, the strategist. I've been doing this for over 15 years, working, representing investors, being their gatekeeper, right? And I'm not liable for any decisions that they make, but I'm not exclusive either. That means I work for anybody at any time. I work with decision makers. So if you're a founder, even if you're a startup, if you're a business owner, or you are an investor, I prefer investors that are project investors, meaning they invest in projects. So the big old skyscrapers, manufacturing companies, industrial, biotech, artificial intelligence, what have you. They do, they invest in businesses, turn them into franchises or buy and hold. It goes on and on all day long. It's all about deal flow for me. That's what I do. I'm in the private sector only. I do not represent the government, but know that you have to answer to the government in some way or some form, no matter what country you are in. I love what I do. I'm passionate about what I do. So you're welcome to contact me, DM me anytime for a strategy session. And then, I do give 15 minutes free, but I also have paid strategy sessions, depending on where you're at, and we can determine that. Not a big deal. All right, so this is